From the comforting arms of Bellevue to the electrifying pace of the city, my life transformed in ways I could never have imagined. Once wrapped in a cocoon of love and trust, a devastating betrayal by Damien pushed me out, making me question everything I held dear. I remember the pangs of pain, the numbing nights, and the struggle to find a foothold amidst the city's chaos. Yet, this is not just a tale of loss. It's the story of my rebirth. In the city's maze, I found more than just a fresh start. Alongside Maya, a beacon of strength and ambition, we ventured into the tech world, creating LuxeLife. This wasn't merely an app. It was our dream molded into digital reality, a bridge between luxury and the everyday. But my journey wasn't only about corporate successes or accolades. It was about confronting the wounds Damien had inflicted, the shadows that loomed large even as LuxeLife shone bright. There were reacquaintances, unexpected and intense. Encounters that reopened old scars, but also offered closure. Every step, every setback, every victory shaped me, teaching me resilience, the power of forgiveness, and the beauty of new beginnings. So, come walk with me. Dive into my narrative, witness my rise from the depths of heartbreak, my relentless drive in the tech realm, and my eventual reconciliation with the past. This isn't just my success story. It's the testament of how, even when shattered, the human spirit can piece itself back together, stronger and more radiant than ever. My name is Amanda, and this is my story. I'd often walked the idyllic streets of Bellevue, feeling the sun-dappled leaves caress my face. It wasn't just the beauty of the town that charmed me, but also the dreams it held. Every brick, every corner, and every smile I exchanged with the townsfolk spoke of the life I'd painstakingly built with Damien. The town had been a silent witness to our story. We met at the Bellevue Summer Fair. He, with his hazel eyes and quick wit, had approached me at one of the stalls. Hours were spent talking, laughing, and sharing our dreams. It wasn't long before we found ourselves deeply in love, and with that love, we built our dream, a boutique hotel at the edge of town. Years blurred into one another as our hotel grew in popularity. The scents of fresh roses, the hum of our busy staff, and the laughter of our guests were the soundtrack of my life. Each corner of the hotel whispered stories of our combined dreams. I vividly remember designing the rooms, selecting fabrics for the curtains, and poring over menu cards for our in-house restaurant. Late evenings often saw me in our garden, sipping on a cup of tea, surrounded by the sweet scent of blooming flowers. The soft glow of the fairy lights, intertwined with the branches, created a magical ambience. Everything felt right. Everything felt perfect. That was until the day reality came crashing down. Curiously sorting through paperwork in our study one afternoon, I stumbled upon bank notices. My heart raced as I scanned through the shocking numbers. The hotel was in deep financial trouble. How had this happened? I'd been so meticulous with our funds, always ensuring we lived within our means. Confronting Damien that evening, my world shattered. The man I'd loved, trusted, and built a life with confessed to his mistakes. Not only had he gambled away our savings, but he'd also hidden his affair. The pain was unbearable. Our dream was slipping through my fingers, replaced by hurt, confusion, and a torrent of questions. In my heartbreak, Maya's voice was a balm. My best friend since college, she'd always been my anchor. We had shared countless nights talking about our dreams and aspirations. "Come to the city," she gently urged. "You deserve a fresh start." A sleepless night followed. But by dawn, the decision was made. Bellevue held too many memories, and I needed to distance myself. Packing was heart-wrenching. Each object, each memory was a stark reminder of my broken dreams. But I couldn't stay. I needed to rebuild myself. As I boarded the train, leaving behind the town, the hotel, and the man I had once adored, my heart was heavy with grief. But amidst the sorrow, a tiny flame of hope flickered. It was time to redefine myself. The deafening sounds of the city's hustle greeted me as I disembarked from the train. The towering buildings dwarfed me, their imposing structures a stark contrast to the comforting embrace of Bellevue's open landscapes. It felt like an alien world, one where everyone was on a mission, their faces set with determination, their pace unfaltering. Maya's apartment, located in the heart of the city, became my refuge. From her window, the cityscape spread out like a sea of lights, twinkling as day turned to night. The constant hum of traffic, the distant sirens, and the occasional laughter from the streets below were both unsettling and strangely comforting. Maya, ever the pillar of strength, took it upon herself to immerse me in city life. From introducing me to the local delicacies at the street corners to navigating the maze of the metro, she was my guide. But what intrigued me the most was her work. She was a project manager at a tech firm, a world I knew little about. Day by day, I tried to understand the intricacies of her job. Meetings, pitches, brainstorming sessions. It was all so foreign to me. Yet, amidst this confusion, an idea began to germinate. The world of tech was vast, filled with possibilities. I realized there was a gap, an untouched niche that combined luxury hospitality with technology. One evening, as Maya and I sat on her balcony, I hesitantly shared my thoughts. To my surprise, she was ecstatic. "You need to pitch this," she declared, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "It's revolutionary." Weeks went by as I worked on my idea. With Maya's guidance, I learned the ropes of the tech world, attending workshops, networking events, and countless seminars. As my concept took shape, I named it LuxeLife, an app that would seamlessly integrate luxury services for high-end clients, offering them experiences like never before. Drafting a proposal, securing meetings, and finding potential investors became my daily grind. The world of business suits, PowerPoint presentations, and venture capitalists was daunting. More than once, I found myself battling doubts and insecurities. Is this truly for me? I often pondered. Can I succeed in a domain I know so little about? One particularly challenging day, after a disheartening meeting with potential investors, I returned to Maya's apartment feeling defeated. The memories of Bellevue, of my failed dreams, seemed to haunt me. But Maya, sensing my despair, enveloped me in a warm hug. "You've got this," she whispered. "Remember why you started." With renewed vigor, I delved deeper into the development of LuxeLife. And as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the app began to gain traction. From initial skeptics, there emerged a growing number of believers. LuxeLife's potential was undeniable. It promised something the market had never seen, and I was at its helm. As the one-year anniversary of my move to the city approached, LuxeLife was set for its official launch. Invitations were sent, the media was buzzing, and anticipation was high. But even as I prepared for this monumental moment, my thoughts often drifted back to Bellevue, to the past I had left behind. The launch date was set in a prestigious city hotel, an ironic twist considering my history with hospitality. The venue was abuzz with journalists, potential clients, investors, and a sea of curious faces. As I stood backstage, adjusting my outfit and going over my speech one last time, anxiety gripped me. Could I really pull this off? I thought. What if it fails? But when the lights dimmed and I stepped onto the stage, something changed. The crowd's attentive gaze, the hushed whispers, and the weight of the moment fueled a newfound confidence in me. With every slide I presented, every feature of LuxeLife I described, the audience seemed more intrigued, their skepticism replaced by genuine interest. The questions post-presentation were relentless, but I was prepared. Hours of rehearsals with Maya had made me ready for almost anything. As the event concluded and the applause echoed in my ears, I knew LuxeLife was set to be a game changer. However, the biggest shock awaited me at the after-party. Engrossed in a conversation with a group of investors, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Turning around, I was met with a pair of familiar hazel eyes. Damien. "Why are you here?" was the only thought that raced through my mind. His appearance was altered, the confident charm replaced by a look of exhaustion and regret. Before I could say anything, he began. "I had to see it for myself. The rumors about your success, they're all over Bellevue, and now the city." Taken aback, I tried to find words. "Damien, this isn't the time or place." But he persisted. "I'm genuinely happy for you, and I need you to believe that. I've realized my mistakes, the pain I caused, but seeing you here, I understand why you had to leave. You were meant for bigger things." It was overwhelming. A mix of emotions coursed through me: anger, sorrow, disbelief. "Thank you," I muttered, excusing myself from the conversation. The night was a blur after that. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. LuxeLife was an instant success. Its seamless integration of luxury with technology caught the attention of many, leading to numerous collaborations, partnerships, and business offers. Maya and I, once dreamers in a small town, were now names recognized in tech circles. Yet, Damien's unexpected appearance lingered in my mind. His words, his regretful demeanor, haunted my thoughts. It wasn't about reconciliation or forgiveness. It was the closure I never realized I needed. Our paths had diverged, but in that fleeting moment, there was an understanding, a silent acknowledgement of our past and the separate futures we were heading towards. Months transformed into a mosaic of memories, each tile reflecting a milestone for LuxeLife. The app was now global, with a user base that spread across continents. My life, once shattered in Bellevue, was being meticulously pieced together in the city. But success, as gratifying as it was, came with its own set of challenges. Late nights became a norm, with sleep being a luxury I could seldom afford. Every morning, as I looked at my reflection, the toll was evident. The lines on my face deepened, the sparkle in my eyes dimmed, and a persistent fatigue gnawed at me. But driven by ambition and a desire to prove myself, I soldiered on. One such evening, as I pored over sheets of data in my high-rise office, the city lights painting a surreal picture outside, Maya walked in. Her face mirrored my exhaustion, but there was an urgency in her eyes. "We need to talk," she began. The discussion that ensued was a wake-up call. Maya was concerned, not just about the business, but about me. "You've built something incredible," she said, her voice a mix of pride and concern. "But at what cost? I see you pushing yourself, and it scares me." It wasn't just the work. It was the unresolved emotions, the past that I hadn't quite left behind. Damien's surprise visit, while providing some closure, had reopened old wounds. I realized I hadn't truly processed my feelings or allowed myself to heal. Seeking solitude, I took a sabbatical. The mountains, with their serene landscapes and crisp air, beckoned. Days turned into nights as I trekked, meditated, and journaled, addressing the chaos within. The breathtaking vistas provided a backdrop for introspection. One morning, perched atop a cliff, overlooking a sprawling valley, clarity dawned. While ambition and success were crucial, they couldn't be at the expense of my well-being. I needed balance. Additionally, I acknowledged the hurt Damien caused, but recognized the importance of moving on, genuinely leaving the past behind. Returning to the city, I implemented changes. Boundaries were set in my professional life, ensuring I had time for myself. Maya and I even initiated wellness programs for our team. But the most significant change was personal. I began therapy, addressing the emotional baggage I had long ignored. As weeks turned to months, The transformation was palpable. The laughter returned, the fatigue faded, and life, once a relentless marathon, became a more enjoyable journey. A year post my sabbatical, standing on my balcony, the city stretching below, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The trials, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, they had shaped me, propelled me towards a destiny I hadn't imagined. On a whim, I penned a letter to Damien, not seeking reconciliation but offering forgiveness. It was a step, I realized, not for him but for me. Bellevue, the town of dreams and heartbreaks, was a chapter I would always cherish. But the city, with its challenges and triumphs, was my present and future. Here, amidst the chaos, I had found myself.
All right, everyone's presentations are done, Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look, "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day." Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. "So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. "Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company?" Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1, if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike. What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here." "He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.